What? Alrighty.
All right. This article here, which I'll put the link in the chat, is we talked about, I just called this here an architecture of interconnectedness. Now, what
Hmm.
does that really mean? It sounds good, but let me show you. There's an image down here that kind of gets at the breakdown. All right, this guy here. So you don't want these silos, right? So you have to transcend the boundaries of all the platforms. At the same
Right.
time, you need to have, autonomy. So the challenge is always how do you maintain autonomy while you invent a we? It's true in relationships too. You
Right,
know,
right.
so transcending platform boundaries, the context and authenticity, it's like getting clear on what each of us are about. And then this idea of dynamic connections and alliances, almost like ambassadors to the different networks, so that we have a way to stay connected. So this article, um, is worth looking at because it speaks to some of the challenges and opportunities. So let me just put this in the chat. Like I say, it's the future of online communities and what we called the architecture of interconnected communities. So this guy is one piece on that topic. Hold on. And so you could be, and I'm open to however you want to do it. You could be a dedicated space within one world. You could have a separate network from one world. I've done that for a number of folks inside of one world. Um, in fact, I told Phil we could do that for what he wants to do with Indigenet. So it's extensible and scalable. That's been my experience with Mighty Networks. I'm very happy with it. They keep getting better and better. And so at the same time, whatever you guys want to do, that's fine with me. But I would be willing to do that if you wanted that. In other
Oh,
words, here, a dedicated, all right, let me just make sure that some of this jargon is clear. So let's make it a safe space to ask 100 times if you need to figure out what we're talking.
thank you, John. I really appreciate that. That is so sweet of you to say that.
Yeah, yeah, no, learning is takes time, practice and time.
Totally.
So here on the left, these four options, well, there's actually this chat with code, but one feed, discovery, members, events. These are what they call global. In other words, everything that appears up here comes from the spaces that are dedicated down here. And if you notice the spaces, like this being one, Solstice Unites, and the Sacred Confluence, they're in these collections. So this is a little twisty here,
Yeah.
so these fall in like the bioregions, right? If I click on bioregions, those are showing all the spaces. So in terms of like the architecture, a collection has multiple spaces. And this one, the 99 days of peace. So I move them from time to time, depending on what's happening. But I
Yeah.
still leave this thing on the top says start here. So if people come in here, they can get a welcome. What is this about? An introduction to One World. We have a thing we call the hub where people can go get education, training, and support. We have a bunch of resources in there for learning and figuring out how to.
Now, John, it says live there on Hub. Um,
Right.
what does that mean?
Okay. Because of the dates, we've
Mm,
set this up to go through September 28th.
mm.
Okay, so each one of these spaces, when you let me
Yeah.
click on Solstice Unites, these tabs on the top are features.
Okay.
So you can, and you can name them whatever you want. I've said the one requirement is let's make each space start with a home. So if I go to Compassion Games, the first thing that's going to appear here is a home. If I
Okay.
go into the Garden of Joy, it should be a home, right?
Yeah. Okay.
The
Okay.
one consistency is. And when you do see live, it's because it's happening now. And you could choose what you want. Like, for instance, in the Solstice Unites, this home is actually an event. That's why it'll appear June 20th is when it kicks off. Now, remember, these things is context sensitive. So the IP address, this time is here is because I'm in the PDT time zone. If
Yeah.
other people looked at it on the East Coast, it would have a different time.
Sure, sure, sure. Yeah. Hmm.
It's starting here is because of the solstice is beginning for us in Amsterdam. The first event is going to be a water ceremony in Amsterdam. Then in New York, we're doing a midday ceremony, and then Los Angeles. to close out the day.
Mm, mm.
So anyway, that's why. So this happens to be the first, this home. So look, when you look at the features up here, like if you had a space here, I'm now like an admin here, the space features. So that first one is an event, a single event. Let's see, where is that? There it is. So you pick and choose, and you say, like, I don't have the courses turned on there, and I don't have the hashtag list, or I don't have a chat. You can, for each space, if you chose one in here, you could then, like in the Magic Canoe, that's a space, right?
Yeah.
Oh, the home there is not an event. It's a single page. How do I know that? If I go up here into the gear to see what's going on behind the scenes, aha, I got the feed, I got members, I got course. I don't have a single event, but I have a page. So that's what home is. And you see, I was able to name it what I want. So if I go down here to page, I'm calling it home.
Okay. Okay. Gotcha. Gotcha.
Right? So they've done a really good job, in my opinion, of like the core functional, and what you want to call them is up to you. Here, they're voyagers, but these are the people that are members in this space.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Tide Solstice Unites, they're called stewards. Same thing, it's members.
Now, John, I'm curious. Within Mighty Networks, I mean, is it just software that they provide you, and then you build out your own, universe there, or
Yep.
do they also have a mechanism for the various different members of Mighty Networks or users of Mighty Networks to kind of, you know?
Yeah, they are independent networks. That you can switch. So I can switch on my phone easily. I could go to another Mighty network,
Yeah.
but there is no real interoperability between them. You have a different account inside each network. I mean, it's kind of your walled garden,
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
and
Gotcha.
and that's been okay. Now that's why that architecture of interconnected communities, realizing that there are these different platforms, and we don't want the platforms to limit our ability to interact with each other. We don't want, like, high low, for instance, we could work with the holo movement folks, and they're on high low, and other people, there are other people on other mighty networks. People, a lot of folks that are moving off of Facebook groups in particular, find Mighty Network to be the perfect solution for them.
Hmm.
Particularly because of it's not an advertising based model,
Yeah.
not monetizing your attention with ads. So in Mighty Network, there's none of that. When you go in there, here, let me show you. You have control over what you want to see. So in other words, if I go here just to the one feed, one world, one feed, I could see, okay, show me what? I could say I want to see, just my own personal feed. I want to see everything that's going on. I want to see just the stuff from people that are near me.
Yeah.
You have a lot of control over how you set these filters as to what you're going to actually be shown. So there is no algorithm, last activity popular now. So it's in that way really very much in your own hands.
Gotcha, gotcha. Hey, John, do you have time to like hang out? I mean, really
Yeah.
appreciate. Okay, yeah, because I was looking forward to just hanging out and also just kind of getting your getting your heart a bit, as well as all the beautiful stuff in your mind. Could I just ask you to share with me? And of course, we're recording, so I can pause anytime if you want to talk about something personal. But like, what is like your ultimate vision? How do you see this like going all the way to what your ultimate goal is? And I would just love to just for you to just share in whatever ways. And feel free to ask me clarifying questions. Jamin, do you want to know more about this or that? You know,
Well, you know what? Okay, so here's something that's been helpful in the process of getting to know each other. I learned this from an Indigenous elder who
hmm.
told me that we're each three lines. There's your bloodline, there's your storyline. So your life script, challenges, choices, outcomes. And then there's your milk line. What has fed you?
Mm,
So I grew up in New York.
yeah.
I'm a musician by training. So much of what I know about how to relate comes from those experiences of learning how to make music together. It's nothing better. You got to listen, got to get in tune. So for me, I had a remarkable journey as a child. I decided I wanted to be a musician. I was a pain in the ass to my poor parents who have to put up with that.
Hmm.
You want to be a musician, you better get educated. So I went to some good music schools, and then at the young age, I met this guy, Carlos Fernando Flores, who had come from Chile. He was a minister of finance in Allende's government and conducted the largest cybernetics project ever undertaken called CyberSyn. The Stafford Beer, they hired him. They were running the government over 300 baud modems. They actually knew every day how many transactions happened. I mean, it's an amazing story. You know, we overthrew the Chilean government. It was on September 11th, I think, in 1973, because they had taken back the copper mines for the people.
Yeah. Yeah.
AT&T was not happy about that.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So
You know,
this is
my dad actually contemplated, he was a mechanical engineer. He actually contemplated moving to Chile to support the Allende government and just
okay.
be a part of it. Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, so I come from an extremely liberal
Okay.
background. Yeah.
Was a huge threat to America because the democratically voted in a Marxist, you know.
Yeah, totally, totally.
Freaked the
Democratically
hell out.
elected government, and no, I know the story pretty well.
Okay.
And I actually took my dad to Chile before he passed. You know, he had a dream of going to Chile, so we went there and traveled all around. And it was really interesting. He was a very astute observer, and he just observed that the whole population, this was like in 2013, the whole population, the people, you go to a restaurant or whatever, people are subdued. It's not like New York or San Francisco where we're talking and we kind of want to be heard and mixing it up with other tables. There, people are subdued. So, literally, what was that, 40 years later? The effects of that, brutal totalitarian takeover,
Yeah,
wiping out, a whole segment of the liberal society.
that's
You
crazy. And Flores was a political prisoner under Pinochet, which is like the worst. And it was Amnesty International and George Shultz that brought him to America. And actually, because my family had done the EST training,
Yeah.
family did it, that Werner was intrigued by Fernando. Fernando had this
Oh,
genius and the relationship between language and action. He was a professor at Stanford and got a multidisciplinary doctorate at Berkeley. His doctoral dissertation was Management and Communication in the Office of the Future.
wow.
And
Wow.
I was like 19, 20 when I met him. And the first groupware software was what we had done. I was a small member of that team. It was called the Coordinator. But Flores learned from John Searle about speech acts.
Hmm.
So that there are four speech acts: declarations, assertions, requests, and promises. So you see, if I say to you, Jamin, I promise I'm going to be with you on Friday,
Yeah.
I'm not describing something. And the act of making that promise, we're inventing something. That's
Hmm.
the question. Okay, so he had a really great question. There are two questions that have been asked in my life that changed my life. He said, why are dogs never late?
Hmm.
Why are dogs never late?
Hmm.
Not know the answer. But the answer really, if you get it, it's profound. They don't make promises. Now we interpret requests like, "Hey, take me out. I need to go." But listen to what how this gets so interesting. Then the question is, well, what is work? What are people doing when they say they're doing is working? And here's the answer: making and fulfilling commitments, coping with breakdowns, interruptions in the fulfillment of those commitments, and keeping open new possibilities for the future. That was a universal insight as to really what we say we're doing when we say we're doing is working. That's what we're doing.
Hmm. Hmm.
So right now, I'm here. If I'm here because I made a promise.
Right.
You're here because you made a promise. And human beings have that capacity. Whereas we don't see that from any other living being. And in the process of making those kind of declarations, promises, we're inventing our future. And it all lives in language. And those insights changed my life.
Yeah, I think I had mentioned to you a few years ago that I was at Cemex for a period of time in Monterrey, Mexico, at their headquarters, and Fernando Flores and his
Chris was teaching, yeah. They hired him there.
yeah, no, his whole team and everything, and it was
Chauncey Bell, probably Chauncey too. A guy named Chauncey Bell.
yeah. I didn't meet either of those gents, but yeah, I was there in let's see, 97 through 99. And but anyway, I mean, I just their teachings and everything had just become part of the culture, you know. Hey, I
Yeah,
want to make a request, and there was just, there was this whole circular, the whole circular thing.
yeah,
All
workflow thing. Actually, yeah, I had a big part in that. Well, the thing about the software, the coordinator, was you didn't send messages. You made requests, you made offers. You started what he called conversations either for possibilities or conversations for action.
yeah.
He actually said that there's only three kind of conversations: conversation for possibilities, conversation for action, and rock and roll, which is gossiping, bullshitting, nattering, and but yet out of a lot of those conversations, new possibilities emerge.
Mm, mm,
Possibility is something that isn't going to happen and may happen by our intervention. And all of this lives in language. And I had no clue, really. I just thought language, I was taught as a kid, as we were taught in our culture, that language is symbolic representation of ideas in your mind. Flora said this is pure bullshit. First off, you don't have a mind. No one's ever seen one. The mind itself is an invention in language. And that language is constitutive. You're Jamin because your mother said so.
mm,
It's not like there's a Jamin in your genes. No, it happened in language. And you get married with a proposal. You can't get married unless someone makes a proposal. And the judge has the authority to declare you married. I mean, the whole world became a different world as I understood the relate. Now, the other guy from Chile, who the genius behind that was Maturana and Varela. This book, The Tree of Knowledge, The Biological Roots of Human Understanding.
mm,
Flores brought Maturana to teach us. So I spent many years with Fernando. He actually ended up buying my company. But
mm,
this whole thing about how we know what we know, and this is one of the best books. You know, that all doing is knowing, and all knowing is doing. So how do I know that I know something? It's because I can make a promise and deliver it.
mm,
It
mm,
gets really simple. And and you talk about my milk line, which I'm drilling down on here. This was a key guy. Now, the other one who taught me a lot about indigenous wisdom, this was the other question that changed my life. The first one was, why are dogs never late? Duh, they don't make promises. Wow. Uh, this whole, like our whole financial system, everything is all invented in language.
yeah.
Made it up. We could make it up in a different way. But Patricia Ann Davis, this was 20 years ago. And if you get this one, this is like really, this is going to pull the rug out. She said, John, can you name one religion that can get the sun to come up other than in the east? In that moment, I realized there was no Native American religion. That indigenous wisdom is about the natural order that belongs to all of us equally.
Mm,
Gravity doesn't care if you believe in it or not. And that there is a natural order and we're totally out of balance. For instance, it doesn't start in the north. All our maps have north. It starts in the east. The day begins in the east. And the directions are affirming to the east balance in living. Then looking to the south, affirming harmony in communication. And then when the sun sets to the west, affirming peace in the family. And then to the north, affirming beauty in the environment. And then as above, so below, I affirm joy in my heart, hearth, and home. And the power of language and bringing Patricia calls it brain surgery, back into attunement, back into balance. So for me, indigenous wisdom is not like another form of religion. I thought it was. I thought there must be some Native American religion kind of thing.
Hmm.
That
Hmm.
natural order of things belongs to all of us equally. And but yet, we're clearly out of balance.
And would you call that natural order of things a human-centric natural order? Like, is there a different order for eagles and condors?
No, I
Or,
think it's all of us. I think the natural law is all of us, all living beings. In fact, that's the insight that Earth isn't a resource; it's a relative.
or
And
our mother? Or do you
our
consider?
mother, yeah, yeah. I mean, it's a it's like alive. It's like we're all here living as beings. And they believe the rocks are alive, that everything has life in it.
And is it sort of like Russian dolls then, where like we're alive, we're living beings, but we're also part of the big Russian doll that we're all enclosed in, Mother Gaia. So we're all part of Gaia.
Yeah, in fact, there's this beautiful story she tells of her granddaughter came home from school crying because she could not get along with her friends at school and they were picking on her. And Patricia said to Wombly, Wombly, you are earth, water, fire, and air. In the earth, water, fire, and air. And she stopped crying and she said to Patricia, no one ever told me. But your flesh and bones are the earth. Your blood is the water. Your temperature is the fire. That air is the breath. That's the Creator's breath. And that orientation, that way of knowing, and that way of understanding oneself, I had never been taught that. That had never been shown to me until I met Patricia. Now, she's the real deal. Phil, on the other hand, you see, there's this whole thing about Christianity and the effect of assimilation. And there's a difference there, even amongst the natives, those who grew up on the reservation versus the ones who went through Christianity. And Phil, he's Baha'i and all that. And it's not a judgment, but it's just there is her father was the founder of the Native American Church. This is Patricia, which is not a church. That's where they preserve the peyote ceremonies
Hmm.
and Tanea, the Denebizad. I mean, her work. Okay, so inside of one world, and this is probably one of the best things I've done for the world. In here, back to one world, the Indigenous Wisdom Institute here,
Hmm.
this course here on Indigenous spirituality, which we freely offer, is the real deal. Natural, okay, living the loving way as a way of life. In fact, what I just shared with you is all part of this. So, in fact, if you look here in the order, like what is natural order law? Harmony and power within. So, what I did was I recorded these in their videos. Every one of these has a video at the end.
Mm.
Then I transcribed what was in the video and summarized it. I tell you, this is the best insight into really understanding indigenous wisdom.
Mm. Mm.
It's intrapersonal holiness for interpersonal wholeness. Intrapersonal holiness. So
Mm.
here we go again. Sunrise in the east, midday in the south, west. Her work is just stellar. She's
Mm.
and she at 8 years old was initiated by her father, who said, undo the thinking that's led to the suffering of our people. So this is really good stuff, and each one I have a little quiz that goes with it. The four cardinal directions. Everything was created with purpose and order. So this is all in one world.
And again, how do you get to this part of it?
Okay, so
Indigenous spirituality. Okay.
there's a collection called the Indigenous Wisdom Institute that has two spaces, right?
Yeah.
This is Indigenous spirituality, just like all the other spaces.
Yeah.
It's a course,
Okay.
and this course is living the loving way as a way of life.
Okay.
Feel it in your bones. Literally, I love this one. I love and serve Creator the way the Creator loves and serves me. I love and serve myself the way Creator loves and serves me. Therefore, I love and serve others the way the Creator loves and serves me. I love and serve the Creator the way the Creator loves and serves all of us equally.
Mm,
Hmm.
mm.
Just hearing these things attunes me. And I don't think it's just me, but I can only speak for myself, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, I have this notion that each of us, since we are all indigenous to Mother Earth, that we all contain at least the seeds of this wisdom, inside of us as our birthright. And of course, just as a baby needs to be nurtured and fed, those seeds of wisdom need to be nurtured and developed. But the way I see it, I mean, that is our kind of our native operating system, if you will.
Absolutely. So we have a moral conscience. Here's what Patricia told me the problem is for us, and
Mm,
you'll get it right away. It's really true. So there is a natural order of things, and there is a ceremonial change process. But in that ceremonial change, and we've been doing a lot of this, and I could show you more of it, where you begin by naming the out of balance condition, like greed, okay, and corruption, right? So you name what's out of balance and you get at the root cause. What's keeping that stuck? But the next move is the move we don't do in our Western culture, which is emptying. We don't have safe and supportive places for people to empty.
mm, mm.
So they're walking around. Basically, it's intergenerational trauma. All of
Yeah,
us
yeah.
don't have a safe place where we can cry, where we can let that out. And only then once you've emptied, you can do the reframe. So in what I was showing you there, here, let me show you, was there's two courses there. There's one on living the loving way as a way of life. But then there's this other indigenous ceremonial change process. And this woman is such a scholar. She has laid this out. Let me see if the image is here. Template, hold on. Identifying what's out of balance. You see emptying the maladaptive emotions. But hold on, there's a beautiful chart. Where is the chart? Hold on. Course material. Okay. Change process. You are a spark of divinity within a greater light, with inherent compassionate peacemaking sovereignty. And a genius gift for making decisions for the greatest good for the greatest number of people. So hold on, where did I put the chart? Ah, no, this is it in terms of she has a beautiful drawing of, oh, here it is. Okay. I know it's complicated at first, but it really gets at it. This is where we're stuck. This is a closed system for design failure.
Mm,
And it begins to unpack the drama victim triangle where we're stuck here. This is Maslow's hierarchy of needs. She really can give you insight. But the way out is here. And this is the indigenous ceremony, naming what's out of balance, the root cause, emptying, reframing, co-creative solution and its life application. And that moves you from there, that process up into here. And you see on the top is the east. That's the child.
mm,
South is the youth. To the west is the parent. To the north is the grandparent. To the east is the sunrise, right? You can see it. There's noon, midday, sunset, midnight. The natural order of things. And this is the masculine and feminine. So the masculine is protector and provider. The feminine is life giver and nurturer. And learning, and she talked to me that there are four gender roles. So there are masculine males and feminine females, but also masculine females and feminine males, right?
Mm. Yeah.
This top is it, this is it. Hey, remember joy within our hearts, hearth and home. I was talking to you just before about this. So let me pause here. I'm just throwing a ton at you because I want you to have all the good stuff as fast as I can get it to you. But naming,
Yeah. Yeah.
framing, manifesting, and we don't empty. And
Mm.
people are walking wounded, all of us. And we don't now amongst the community I'm in, we've started would say, hey, you know what? I just need to empty. Okay. People can like say what they need to say, get it out. I just got to say it. I am like, for whatever reason, so upset about this or whatever. My heart was, whatever you need to empty, to have a safe place. It's okay.
I've got a little story for you, John. So, I started kind of tapping into my own, past and family dysfunctions and traumas and things like that when I was like 19, 20. I kind of broke down and dropped out of school for a bit and just kind of went into that whole realm. And then I started reading this book, The Primal Scream by Janov. Had you ever looked into any of Janov's stuff?
No, but I bet it's fascinating. I can just tell from the primal scream gets at exactly what I'm talking about emptying. Yeah.
Well, listen to this. So I was 20 years old. It was the summer. I didn't have anything going on, and I fell in love for the first time with an older woman. And I've got mommy issues up the kazoo because my parents separated when I was 3.5, and then when I was 5.5, my mom took off for India, and I totally shut down emotionally. I just buried it, and it was just my heart broke. So here I am, 15 years later, at the age of 20. And I'd been reading about the primal scream, so like my psyche was, getting kind of primed for this. And I was just at this crisis moment where I thought I was going to lose this woman. And that brought me back to my primal terror and my separation from self and all that. And I was so freaking out. I literally wanted the police to just lock me up and put me in a straitjacket. So I went and found a policeman, and this policeman was so kind and gentle that I literally just fell to the ground and I clutched his feet and I just erupted. It was
Mm.
an absolute eruption. I mean, I literally felt like I was watching a volcano. That's how much control I had over my own eruption,
Yeah.
right? And I was just like that, I was just screaming, erupting for a couple of minutes. It was just all that buried pain. And the next thing I knew, I was surrounded by like four different police cars because the policeman had radioed and he didn't know if I was a drug overdose or what the heck was going on. And they really helped me out to kind of calm down, sent me to the hospital or took me to the hospital, etc. So, but I just wanted to let you know I've got some experiences with emptying. I'm still emptying. Uh,
Yeah, no, it's part of life. You got every day, there's time, but it's like what keeps us stuck. We don't have those safe and supportive places in our culture where people feel it's safe to empty. That's why you got, I think trauma and like especially with all the political issues in families, right? They're so divided and the polarization that we're feeling. What that really is that there isn't a safe place for people to be able to say what they're thinking, whether they believe it or not. Sometimes you got to hear yourself say things, you realize, God, but there isn't that kind of environment in which it's a safe place for us to evolve and grow. And that for me is the potential, is evolving our potential together, having a safe enough space to do that. That's what I want one world to be. I mean, that's the dream, is that people discover a place where we can restore Mother Earth and unite humanity, restore Mother Earth. Not just like a nice platitude, but actually take on that task in our own way of being in the world with ourselves and with each other. Intrapersonal holiness for interpersonal wholeness. And Patricia corrected me once. She said, no, John, but it doesn't start with yourself. It starts with you and Creator. That alignment, that there's a sense of purpose here, that there is, I operate as if there are no accidents here. And that it was only a matter of time before you and I would be able to be in a safe space like this with each other, James.
Yeah. Yeah.
Respect you. But it happens when it happens. Everything happens at the right time. But then when we get in tune with Creator and then with ourselves, then with each other. So that idea of intrapersonal holiness for interpersonal wholeness, that's the space I want to occupy in my everyday life. That's my life for summer.
Yeah.
Have a harmony huddle every morning. We do the four directions. We talk about what we're grateful for from yesterday and what's our intentions for the day. And we've learned, and a lot of that is, not in our culture.
Yeah, totally. So is your vision kind of like the whole world ultimately makes its way to one world and
Well, I just think we need to be a model. We need to like live it.
mm,
Authenticity grants authority for me. I'm okay, and at times I say, you know what? There are a lot of artists who did their work and then were not appreciated when they were alive.
mm.
Very real. That may just be the case here. But I figure if we can live in the right way, we can live the loving way as a way of life and breathe, authenticity into that and deal with whatever shows up that's in the way of that, then that's enough for me. Now sometime I've been praying for this. This could happen. I'm really excited about this relationship with Global Citizen. Those guys are, in my opinion, I trust them. And if you don't know who they are, they have built this connection. Hold on. In fact, here's Harry Uvegi, who you should get to know. He's a brilliant, dear friend and founder of Brand Earth. Hello, Harry.
Hello, John.
I'm talking to Jamin Shively, who just spent 11 days with Brother Phil.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, yeah,
Hey,
yeah.
hey there, Harry. How you doing?
I'm well, thanks. And yourself?
I'm well. I'm well.
So I'm headed to New York. I stay at Harry's place. Harry and Clarissa Summer and I are going because we've got the Juneteenth event. And as you know, Solstice unites on the 21st. And blessing the Earth Bank Fund and the Earth Pass and everything. That's all comes from Brand Earth. That's Harry.
Okay. Awesome. Wow.
That's what I say every morning.
And he
Awesome.
knows and loves Patricia too. He's a big fan and supporter of her work as well.
Mm, beautiful.
Joyous ride,
Yeah, yeah.
And
especially
what
as a canoe.
In the
and
magic.
what's the connection between Brand Earth and Global Citizen?
Okay, I just started to talk to you about that. Thanks to Ben Bowler,
Yeah.
those guys who founded Global Citizen are from Australia.
Yeah.
So he's had them on World Unity Week, and he was able to introduce us because they have done for 14 years their festival on the Great Lawn in Central Park in September.
The Global Citizen.
Global Citizen has. Now, what they do is they put on this concert that everybody in the world wants to go to, but you cannot buy a ticket to. You
Yeah.
have to do deeds, good deeds to end extreme poverty. That's been their mission, ending extreme poverty. So they partner with artists and global citizens to influence world leaders, corporate leaders, and philanthropists. And we were just recently invited, Harry and I, to an event in New York. The global citizen now, especially in light of all the changes that are going on, USAID. And in fact, they had Mark Green, the guy who was running USAID, in the room is on a panel talking about, the consequences of what's going on. But uh, they see us as bringing, because the long story short, we're going to be part of their Global Citizen Festival, which is the 99th day in Central Park. And we're looking to do a global powwow, a homecoming for humanity, a homecoming ceremony as part of the festival. So that's what's in the works. And they can also be the perfect partner to issue the Earth Pass,
Mm,
looking to reach 50 million people. I mean, their platform is fabulous. And they use a lot of the same, I mean, there's a lot of resonance and consistency with what we're up to, who we are, the relationships we have, and we just hit it off. So that's why Brand Earth, partnership with Solstice Unites. Solstice Unites partnership with Global Citizen and Brand Earth all makes perfect sense from
Mm.
where I stand, at least. And I did send a message to Simon last night, Harry. I'll forward to you, but just kind of spelling that out again.
Yeah.
I'm hoping to see him when we're there next week.
Yeah, but when you're done, could you give me a call because I want to see if we can get Unity Earth's 501 for us to go shopping.
Oh, okay. I think I have it.
Oh, good. If you could send it to me, I can go shopping.
Yeah, I love that. So we're doing this
Okay.
event there. Hold on. Let me just get it for the IRS. I think I have the letter. What it is
Yeah.
you get a letter back in which they give you those magic numbers. Here it is. Okay, I'll send it to you.
Beautiful. Thank you.
All right, Harry. Thank you.
Nice to meet you.
Great to meet you, Harry. Best wishes and see you soon.
All right.
Yes, thank you.
It's
Take
gonna
care.
happen. All right.
Bye.
Thanks, Harry. Hold on. I thought I had it. I want to get him the uh boy, why did I think I had that? Hold on. Sorry, Jamin.
No, take your time, John. No problem.
Uh, Inbox, Lawrence, yes. Determination letter. Found it. See the attached. All right. Got it. So we're planning this ceremony, the solstice ceremony for ancestral cleansing, healing, and reciprocity in New York on the spot where there was a massacre that really led to, hold on, I'm sending this to Harry. The, it should, this story is our story because the Dutch, and it wasn't even the Dutch corporate, it was a corporation, the Dutch West India Corporation.
Yeah.
This idea of ownership,
Yeah.
clash of worldviews of ownership versus stewardship has led to that when we did the introduction to Brand Earth in this thing we're doing the other day, that's the story of our time. Let's see if I can show it. God, my tabs are kind of crazy. All
Oh,
right.
yeah, yeah. No, you got to do a cleanup every now and then.
Yeah. But this whole idea of reimagining money in the year of the Jubilee, it starts with our whole world is run by money. When it all boils down, it comes down to the money. I see that so many times.
Yeah.
This
Yeah.
is what's going on with what you guys want to do, right? Well, it wasn't always that way. That before there was money, there was really enough for everyone.
Right. Right.
And that we've invented it, from Venice to the Dutch to the founding of New Amsterdam and the world that we live in today. So this Jubilee year, 750 years of Amsterdam, 400 years in New York, 175th year in Los Angeles, where these also, the massacres took place.
Hmm.
Class worldviews, there you see it. The way it was explained to me is that they would be willing to share what grew out of the earth,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
not the earth itself. They didn't think they owned it. It was
Right.
communal responsibility. It's a relative, not a resource. Anyway, so the cost of extraction. And this is what leads to introducing Brand Earth, the Earth Past, Earth Bank Fund. So
Mm.
that's why I had these slides. It's all part of the Harry Vagey. Um, Jamie, my role is really like a first follower. Have you ever seen that movie, that 3 minute, How to Make a Movement in 3 minutes?
Is that guy dancing?
Yes,
Yeah.
leadership.
Yeah.
Now, but what's the message there? Leadership lessons from the dancing guy. And he's showing in there, Simon Sinek, I think, that the real leader is not the crazy guy out, but it's the first follower.
Mm. Mm.
Everybody needs to have a first follower because the next followers follow the first follower and not the leader. I mean, okay, hold on. It's worth saying this because this is my story with Phil. This is
Mm.
really and this is how I would relate to you. So I relate to Harry. Is everybody that my role is to be the first. I'm the first follower.
Mm.
And I like that role. So here, this is worth seeing. 'Cause this, when I saw that, and what happened was this is Karen Armstrong won the TED Prize. And we became in Seattle the first city to affirm the Charter for Compassion. She didn't even know we were doing this, but we said, why not do this? And doing so elevated her work. And in doing so, began to see this role of the first follower. So here, it's 3 minutes. It's worth it. One more
Yeah,
time.
yeah, yeah. Mhm.
It's,
If you've learned a lot about leadership and making a movement, then let's watch a movement happen start to finish in under 3 minutes and dissect some lessons. First, of course, a leader needs the guts to stand alone and look ridiculous. But what he's doing is so simple, it's almost instructional. This is key. You must be easy to follow. Now here comes the first follower with a crucial role. He publicly shows everyone else how to follow. Notice how the leader embraces him as an equal. So it's not about the leader anymore, it's about them, plural. Notice how he's calling to his friends to join in. So it takes guts to be a first follower. You stand out and you brave ridicule yourself. Being a first follower is an underappreciated form of leadership. The first follower transforms a lone nut into a leader. If the leader is the flint, the first follower is the spark that really makes the fire. Now here's the second follower. This is a turning point. It's proof the first has done well. Now it's not a lone nut and it's not two nuts. 3 is a crowd and a crowd is news. A movement must be public. Make sure outsiders see more than just the leader. Everyone needs to see the followers because new followers emulate followers, not the leader. Now here come 2 more people, then 3 more immediately. Now we've got momentum. This is the tipping point, and now we have a movement. As more people jump in, it's no longer risky. If they were on the fence before, there's no reason not to join in now. They won't stand out, they won't be ridiculed, and they will be part of the in crowd if they hurry. And over the next minute you'll see the rest who prefer to stay part of the crowd, because eventually they'd be ridiculed for not joining. And ladies and gentlemen, that is how a movement is made. So let's recap what we've learned. If you are a version of the shirtless dancing guy, all alone, remember the importance of nurturing your first few followers as equals, making everything clearly about the movement, not you. Be public, be easy to follow. But the biggest lesson here, did you catch it? Leadership is overglorified. Yes, it started with the shirtless guy, and he'll get all the credit, but you saw what really happened. It was the first follower that transformed a lone nut into a leader. There's no movement without the first follower. See, we're told that we all need to be leaders, but that would be really ineffective. The best way to make a movement, if you really care, is to courageously follow and show others how to follow. When you find a lone nut doing something great, have the guts to be the first person to stand up and join in.
I think that's brilliant. I really do. I think that's exactly. So to know kind of my life script here, I figured that's where I could be of most service. Because a lot of the people that are those quote lone nuts is they're alone. If you really get down to it, that
So, John, who are you following, or who or what are you following?
well, you know, the I feel like I'm accountable to my ancestors and descendants. And I've been given so much that there is that adage, you know, for whom much is given, much is expected.
Yeah.
I do
Yeah.
feel drawn to, you know, get over the pettiness of my own, whatever the situation is that I'm in, to do the right thing. There is this idea that there's 36 people on Earth. They're called the Lamed-Vavniks. Have you ever heard about the Lamed-Vavniks?
Mm-mm, mm-mm.
Jewish like folk tale, but that there are 36 people on Earth whose mission is to justify humanity in the eyes of God. Nobody knows who they are, and you may
Mm.
be.
And and they don't know who they are, or they don't know.
That's
Okay.
right. So you live your whole life saying, wait a minute, might have been, you see, because Flores taught me this. There's 3 states of certainty. There's yes, There's no, but then there's also, I don't know. So the really big questions in life, I don't know. I mean, does life have meaning and purpose? I don't know. Is it all predestined that you and I would meet and this would happen this moment? Maybe. I don't know. So I'm going to figure I better live like as if it does have meaning and purpose and that the choices I make do matter. Because I'd hate to find out afterwards that didn't you get it? You had the chance and you didn't do it. So
So,
it behooves us to do just what you're doing, Jamin, being open and inviting, encouraging and supportive and looking to how we get through whatever keeps us from being fully ourselves and fully alive. I mean, we're all walking wounded in some way, and doing our best to overcome that, to serve. I think it comes back to that beautiful, I love and serve Creator the way Creator loves and serves me. I love and serve myself the way Creator loves and serves me. Therefore, I love and serve others the way Creator loves and serves me. And I love and serve Creator because Creator loves and serves all of us equally. That's powerful. That kind of is a good reminder, kind of head balance. So that's who I'm serving. I'm serving the same Creator you serve, and we're all working it out. But Patricia says it this way: we are not broken, we are sacred. So we're born into a narrative. She calls it the inverse thinking, where there's something wrong with us. We're either sinners or no, she says, doesn't, that's pure bullshit. The affirmative thinking, and she spells it out in clear detail. The deficient self-image, the idea that there's some linear process and one day we're going to get there. That's no, that's not who we are. We're an affirmative thinking where we're whole and complete. And she's a scholar. She took seriously her father when she's 8 years old. She was initiated, and he said, "This is your mission in life, to undo the thinking that's led to the suffering of our people." And she's like super brilliant.
hmm.
It's a translator from the Dinebazad. I mean, here, let me show you what I'm talking about. Give you an example to grab my claim. My desktop, I have photos here. So she puts her charts together to kind of explain these things here. And this one is one of them that I'm referencing. So let me see if I go back to Zoom and share my screen. Let me show you. Okay. Photos, this one there. All right. This one here is, see, down here and on the top. So pure non-dualism doesn't exist. Hojo. That's this all-encompassing concept of holiness and wholeness. There's no way in the language to say and not you. You
Hmm.
can't say, cannot be outside or separate from intrapersonal holiness and interpersonal wholeness. No competing collectivities that represent competing ideologies. The context is you're a precious child of Creator within the affirmative thinking system, utilizing your holy thinking for constructive and life-affirming choices in the natural order. Now contrast that above. Look down here. Dualism, belief system. Religion, philosophy, and theory are Eurocentric, dualistic. Win-lose, zero-sum games, right? Religious doctrine is non-negotiable. I am right. I have the answer. My God is the right God, right? Scarcity and competition model is different from abundant living in affirmative thinking in Ho from above. The context here is the deficient self-image in the inverse thinking system. That there's something wrong with me. I'm a sinner or whatever, right? The way it says there is so perfect here. That the deficient self-image in the inverse thinking that requires a linear, sequential, evolutionary, and progressive movement towards some end state of perfection, enlightenment, or civilization in man-made belief systems. This is just a contrast.
Yeah, I must confess, I'm somewhat attached to that very thing that we can create an enlightened, we can co-create an enlightened civilization, end hunger, end extreme poverty, and create a paradise on earth. I have an attachment to that. I just
Well, that's good. No, but that's good. It'd be good to see it as such, right? It's kind of like now, the truth is that's here right now. That's a choice. We can make that choice. That's what global citizen represents, right? And we have actually, people are surprised to find out how good a job we've done at ending extreme poverty over
Hmm.
just the last 40 years. It's been amazing what's happened. So, and it is true. We are attached to the story. Like there's something, the whole marketplace is telling you you need something more, better, or different, right? If you just have the right deodorant, if you just have the right car, if we live in that culture. So it is definitely, it takes presence, takes the ability to empty, to say, hey, you get swept along into this narrative. We were born into this conversation. People were talking this way before we were born.
Yeah,
Me first, the whole individualism as American, that's a narrative. That's just a story.
yeah,
Donald Trump is the personification of that.
absolutely.
Now, did you see how he attacked Elon Musk? For why was Elon against the bill? It was because, of course, when we put in the changes to the EV, that was going to be his reason for being against the bill because everybody's only in it for themselves, right? That it had to be that was the reason, right? It couldn't be actually that he felt that we should, have less debt or whatever. It's just that he is, for me, the worst. I mean, it's like, and I don't blame him. I have compassion for Donald Trump. I really do. I mean, he needs to empty. He needs a good cry because the truth is, you can't turn a lie into the truth. That's natural order. You see, Patricia said that. And I get that. It's really true. You have a moral conscience. All of us do. I think everybody, including Donald Trump, knows that it's a lie. And once you tell the big lie, you got to keep up with all those other lies. You cannot turn a lie into the truth. Like love and fear cannot coexist. That's part of the natural law. That's indigenous wisdom. It just can't. It's like, and that kind of treasure knowledge has been transformative for me personally. And, hopefully trying to live that best I can in a way that it's contagious.
Hmm.
So, what's the change you want to make in the world? How do you articulate that? I mean, you just said some beautiful examples.
Yeah, yeah. Well, there's the end goals and then there's how to get there. So the end goals are that everyone is nourished, that we make a complete transition to a plant-based diet, end animal agriculture, cool the planet with SRM, solar radiation management, um, like marine cloud brightening, and then the Climate Foundation is doing some really exciting stuff with like algae and kelp and whatnot. Um, uh, and so these are the end goals. These are the physical things that need to be transformed. And then the how. How do we get there? I think in terms of the meta solution, in the software sense. So a golden egg, if we want golden eggs, well, we need the meta golden eggs, that which generates the golden eggs. We need the goose. And so the meta solution I see as collective human intelligence now, mashed up with AI. AI is, of course, on its own exponential. I still see collective human intelligence as somewhat stuck at the starting gates. The vision of that is all these different networks within each network, conversations like we're having right now. But the majority of these being open conversations that people can just join, or they can maybe apply to join. If there's some very popular leaders out there, half a dozen of them, there may be hundreds of thousands of people that want to join that conversation, but it would no longer be a conversation if it was a giant Zoom room. So anyway, we've got to work out all these kinds of mechanisms, or maybe each network works it out on their own. And then we have the concept of a passport or something that enables a member of one network to be a visitor in another network. And maybe the conditions of the passport are that you need to understand their flow, their rules, their boundaries, their systems, whatever, but at least just to be able to participate. And I think so much of it boils down to simply sharing time. Some groups use timers and whatnot, and those seem to work well. But to each their own. But one way or another,
Just turn, yeah.
yeah, no, no, I saw that. That's good. That's good. I turned on transcription a bit ago, as well as recording. So, one way or another, we need to bring these different communities together. There's the intra community, hey, have conversations and make them public, right? Because making conversations public, I mean, just for example, not that I'm suggesting this, but suppose we were live streaming and we say, hey, this is an open room and anyone can join until we get to 8 people, because that's the maximum according to what we figure out works well for us. And then people can start then build a next door conversation. Well, I couldn't get into the main one. Let me, get into the one next door, and they can create that. And then imagine that. Now, here's where AI gets really interesting, because, like during COVID, we didn't have AI helping us find conversations. We were all just kind of networking and, popping into each other's conversations and stuff like that. And it was just fantastic. I thought, this is it. Now it's really going to take off. I was so excited. Right. And then, censorship started happening. YouTube shut us down from live streaming because somebody was saying coronavirus too much, and and then other things. And then if you started to criticize the vaccine, you got shut down. And so, but I think, in the past few years, you've done a lot of thinking and evolving. I've hopefully done some evolving in terms of, how do we get this to work intra-network? And so I'll just speak in terms of Kindred Spirits as a network. So my vision, and I share this vision with Chief Phil and Tiger and others we've been talking with very recently. Some members of my own team are a little bit burnt out on it because I get so jazzed about it. But the idea is that with following the guidance of Indigenous leaders and wisdom keepers, and I love what you shared on the screen. I can't wait to delve into all that. That we have something of a curriculum, so that people can enter, can apply for and enter, and if they have the right, let's just say the right heart and intention, whatever that means, it's undefinable. And so I think it's really more just the current membership has some process for evaluating those who want to join. Folks can join, and then they go through. I remember in Landmark Education there was the curriculum for living, and I spent a fair amount of time at Landmark years ago. They go through that curriculum. They get to a point where they're, I'll just say the analogy of a Landmark forum leader, or sorry, an introduction leader. Let's just say an introduction leader. And so people of a certain, who've reached a certain state can be kind of like the leaders, the part of the leadership body that can then lead these meetings, live stream them to the world publicly. And so I'm kind of envisioning that Kindred Spirits becomes this, 5,000 channel satellite television network. So it's just, there's all these different conversations that are just live streaming. And then people can say, wow, that's really cool. People really do this kind of thing. Could I join? Yeah, sure. Look, here's, pop into this Zoom room way over here that's way upstream of the flow. So you can learn about it. And, if you're interested in taking the curriculum, and then you can, become fully fledged and all that. But prior to that, we might have kind of a junior league, if you will, of people who haven't done that whole thing, but want to jump into conversations right away. Hey, why not? I mean, I imagine that'll be a bit more Wild West. And we certainly had a fair amount of Wild West in the block party and, the big meetings that, that we'd all done. And back in the day, and a lot of people get really burnt out on that Wild West. You have people come into the room that just hog the mic and just love hearing the sound of their own voice and whatnot. And so how do we have this kind of flow, towards a more evolved state of the participants? So I have that vision, that we can do that with kindred spirits, and that its foundation is indigenous wisdom. And again, I am so psyched about that course. I mean, I think you basically solved a huge piece. You and Patricia Ann Davis and the others have just solved a huge piece of that. So um, I and then you know Kindred Spirits Network, One World Network, to the extent you follow a similar path and are also live streaming. I see the live streaming as the key, or one of the keys. Recording, live streaming, and transcription. And then, of course, the AI can play with those transcripts. And so imagine then that a conversation in Kindred Spirits and a couple of conversations in One World and 5 conversations in yet other networks. So we've got 8 conversations that are all really in sync, but they don't necessarily know about each other yet. Well, that's where the AI can then, synthesize everything that's being said in the transcripts of each of these conversations, not just being said, but what's being gesticulated. Are these people passionate or are they very
Sure.
cold?
I want to check that right. So streaming, recording, and transcribing,
Yeah.
and then using AI to, okay, got it. Just want to
Yeah.
make sure.
So imagine you've got these 8 conversations that are all really in sync with each other. They just don't know each other yet. So the AI can act as this profound match.com, connecting, instead of people, connecting whole conversations together. And then suddenly, up in the corner, bloop, just like it said, AI, this meeting is being transcribed for AI companion. There's, hey, we've identified 7 other meetings that are tremendously in sync with what you guys are talking about. And you guys, need to know each other. Now, I'm going to open the chat and I'm just going to type in here, hello world. Okay. So misspelled, who cares? So imagine, now we've only got one chat in Zoom. Imagine there was an unbounded number of chats and that we would have chat windows for each of the other 7 conversations that are happening. And suppose we all adopted a standard that said at the top of every minute, AI is going to create a little 50-word maximum, little encapsulation of what is now being talked about in that room. So we can scan the other rooms. I might say, hey, John, you know what? What's happening in room 4 over there just looks so cool. I'm just going to go over and cross-pollinate and I'll be back, and I make a promise to come back. And so I make a little visit over there. And so these 8 rooms, conversations that used to be totally separate and fragmented are now connected in this way. And so there can be sort of, we talk about these different networks. There could be something like a United Nations of networks that respects the autonomy of each and every network, but also creates something of a platform for interconnectivity and this passport concept where you agree as a visitor to abide by the rules and to some degree the culture and whatnot. And again, with the live streaming, you can try before you buy. Hey, let's do a screen share of whatever's live streaming in room 7 over there. Let's just kind of get to know them, and we might sit and watch for a few minutes and just be blown away. And then this way, the Marine Cloud Brightening folks can find each other. The food healers folks can find each other, right? The Indigenous wisdom curriculum folks can find each other. On and on and on. I mean,
All right. Wait, so let me just take a couple things there.
yeah,
In response to good news for you here.
yeah.
Uh, Mighty Networks
Mm-hmm.
has a term they call people magic. Magic. And I could show you how they've set it up to do exactly like what you're talking about. And not only that, you can stream live from Mighty Network. So here, let me show you what I mean. People magic for them happens. Let's go here. So wait a minute. Google Chrome. Okay, here. And I think I might have showed this to you the other day. When you go into in this case, One World, but people have profiles, right? And if in your profile, if you put in your about me, you have an about me, and you're able to identify interest areas. And then we have this purpose statement, right? That we've been encouraging people to do here. And then other links as well. But look what happens when you go into the members section up here and you click on anybody here. It starts here automatically. When I click here to see Charles, that statement there, it's looking to see the similarities between what we both have in common. Okay.
No, okay, you and Charles are both passionate about. Okay, is that AI that's doing that?
Yeah. That's their AI. These guys have done a really good job with it. Okay.
Mm.
So, and then you can see their profile and takes it to the next level. And not only that, you can see all their activity and you can see further now, his about me, his interests, right? If you put his purpose statement in his purpose statement. But let me tell you what I don't know that you know that we've been doing. So in here, if you search for this, I have been working with Patricia for ethical AI and indigenous wisdom. And I could show you how we've used AI. I think
Misspelled ethical.
no, I have fat fingers.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
Oh, yeah, there's enough of it right here. Hold on. So, in all spaces, trustworthy AI meets indigenous wisdom, harmonizing AI. I mean, as you can see, I've done now the way that we've done it. This is okay. I wrote this paper that AI doesn't care. You do. Um, but like what we're doing, let me show it to you. So here we have this event coming up in New York on Juneteenth, right? So that event's called One Circle, Many Voices. All right. Now, what we're doing is we're asking people, and I distinguish reflective feedback from real time feedback. Okay. So when I was just talking about the Indigenous ceremonial change process, identifying what's out of balance, what's the root cause, what's then, once you empty and you get at the root cause, the maladaptive emotions, you can begin to reframe. We've asked people to answer 4 questions, either in advance or then during the session. And then I do these AI summaries of the answers. And it actually creates coherence because there's a voice. Otto Scharmer calls it the fourth person. So, in other words, if you click on this, it takes you to a Google form. This is a circle, many voice, a journey of truth, vision, and restoration. Right. And I explained this. And then what we've done is articulated these 4 questions. Like, what do you feel is most out of balance in our society today? Right. When it comes to how we treat one another across lines of race, culture, class. Then I take those answers and summarize them. So here I've in one of these was this one. I just did this the other day with just to show people. We had like 20 answers at that point. Look at the answer. Respondents share that a key imbalance in society is the loss of indigenous original instructions,
Hmm.
ancestral teachings that foster harmony with nature and each other. This loss, along with rising jealousy, individualism, and a distorted view of freedom, has fueled disconnection and inequality. Many pointed to deep class divides and personal stories of hard work without fair reward, calling for a renewed sense of empathy, equity, and share. Now, the point I'm saying is the exercise is very similar to what you were talking about how AI could be used. It wasn't using it to identify, hey, there's a guy in that room over there, you should talk to this guy in there. That you could do too. But in those sessions, putting up a framing question, strategic questions that people answer either before as reflective feedback or during the session. And we're going to do it later today during a Unity Earth assembly. And then you read it back to the group. And then why it's so important, Jamin, is that when we founded America, we went to the Iroquois. And there were 2 things that they did that we didn't do. And I'll show you, this is where Patricia named it. And one of them is consensus. Look at this here. This is showing the distinction between representational democracy and pure democracy. The indigenous way was by consensus. AI lets us do consensus now. We didn't. We went with power over majority rules. Majority vote is power over. We went with a representational form of democracy that led all this corruption. If you want, no one believes these people really represent the people anymore. It's the people that pay them. I mean, $270 million, and you can, elect a president. So that the idea of the women had the right to recall the leader, the women had the power, and that they also made decisions by consensus. She calls that here pure democracy.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Beautiful. Beautiful.
So anyway, I'm actually saying this inspired by what you were saying, is the idea of having the streaming and then the recording of those streams, the ability to then use those. That's how I produced that course with Patricia. I interviewed Patricia, she talked. I then transcribed what she said, summarized what she said. You learned how to prompt the AI to get them down to like super. The terms I often use is something clear, concise, and compelling.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Wow. Yeah, so the way I see it, John, we're the so again, AI is on its own exponential. The network of networks that are hyper connected and doing all these cool scenarios like we've been talking about, that's still at the starting blocks, or it's a few feet from the starting blocks. We're just crawling and scratching, but we haven't taken off. And the way what I think is missing is for each network to basically see that telos, to have that shared vision. I mean, it'd be nice if we could do some sort of a conference of the different networks, or
Why
maybe
not? Yeah, why don't you make that a mission and I'll do it with you?
I'd love that, John, because you are so connected and so respected, and your heart, um, before I really got to know you, I didn't know you, but now that I'm getting to know you, I'm just like blown away. And I'm so sorry that it took us so long. And but hey,
Everything happens at the right time.
everything happens at the right time. Exactly. Dogs are never late. Anyway, no, but that's a whole different thing. But John, I really think we can work some magic together here.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
I'm
and
totally up for it, Jamin. It's like, in fact, our region, part of the shift to bioregions, this is part of what Harry, with Brand Earth, what we envision is this Earth Pass and the money. There's 185 bioregions. So global governance and digital democracy are at the root of this as well.
yeah,
And we have the benefit of there's a Regenerate Whidbey group and
yeah,
we
yeah.
Cascadia.
That Derek Hoshiko, is he part of that Regenerator?
I've known Derek for 20 years. He
Oh, cool.
writes software. He was a developer back in Seattle for the Antera project.
Oh,
He
wow.
started that. So I love Derek, and he's such good-hearted. I knew him before he had kids and a wife and all that. But no, there's some other guys. So there's this guy, Brendan Letzinger and Claire Atwell. Joe Brewer's stuff on bioregions. Have you ever run across that? Joe Brewer. All right. He's a pretty brilliant guy. Here's Joe's book. He lived in Seattle for a while. The Design Pathway.
Mm, mm, mm.
But
Okay.
I'm big fans of this bioregional idea that, know your water.
Yeah,
Where's
yeah.
that we're living in watersheds, and it's a natural way of. So when we're thinking of how the Earth Pass works, so the payment method is like PayPal. We're talking about. They will put a BIP into the bioregion in which that transaction took place. So I'm a big fan of the fact that we are here and we're here on Whidbey, and Whidbey's part of Cascadia. And I'd love to continue that narrative to point to, because there are bioregional learning centers emerging. We just went to this biofinance conference down at the Georgetown Stream plant. Samantha Powers, a bunch of this whole bioregional movement is a pretty, I think, resonant with a lot of the ideas you're talking about. Because it's act locally, scale regionally, and synergize globally.
Yeah, and that's one of the things, of course, that's missing from the Zoom meetings is the in-person. But if we have this bioregional focus, then we can, have in-person gatherings that can also be hybrid, connected on Zoom, et cetera.
Totally, totally. That's why Harry's doing the Manhattan Project in Manhattan, working with
Okay.
the tribes there. So the idea, this is Dr. Tampson stuff, Tampson Willie Barker, which he's doing down in Borrego Springs, is with Shumash.
Yeah. So John, I think we can get together a critical mass of people who, have the right, I'll just say the right stuff, the right formation, the right whatever, and we can get together and pioneer this, pilot it, um, you know, create this network of create a network, a starter network of conversations. Um, Before we live stream to the public, we just live stream to each other, and we, practice cross pollination and using the AI to, correlate and find which groups are really in sync, and maybe they can merge or, at a minimum cross pollinate, and in some cases divide, mitosis, because there's too many of us in this room. Half of us want to talk about this, half the other. Let's just have a friendly divide, not like a divorce or anything terrible like that, but just, so division, recombination, cross-pollination, correlation, um, and because that forms this combination of networks of conversations, networks of networks that are hyper connected in all these different ways. Everything we've talked about here are forms of hyper connection mashed up with AI. That's super intelligence right there, and we're right on the cusp of it, right on the edge of it.
Right.
And one of my dreams is that Kindred Spirits be one of those networks that does this breakout, right? And can therefore grow and grow, but with the solid foundation of indigenous wisdom. And then, for folks who want to get into the public live streaming, et cetera, to be part of the actual network that's the satellite network, if you will, just by analogy. Yeah.
This is important. Can you give me 1 minute? I just need to leave a message for somebody.
Oh, John, take your time. Listen, we can take a multi-minute break, whatever you need.
Just let me do this, and because I want to.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'll take a quick bio break myself.
Okay. So keep going because I totally support what you're doing.
Yeah, yeah. No, I mean it's just it's been my dream for like the past decade, and I've just, you know, um, had a lot of attempts, a lot of frustrations, some learnings, some good learnings. But AI really makes it so much more viable. And so, a lot of the stuff you showed me, it's really awesome. But a lot of it's asynchronous. There's nothing wrong with asynchronous. That's the foundation of where we're moving towards. But you remember in the original Star Wars Episode 4, 1977, when they made the jump to light speed, it was just like, whoa. See, we're beckoning. We're in this asynchronous world. We're beckoning to make the jump to light speed, where we've got this critical mass of conversations. Once we hit that critical mass, John, and the AI is helping us to, in this match.com scenario. I mean, there are people, there are three people out there, analogous to that, the Lumid Lovnicks. There are three people out there. I guarantee you, John, that if they were in our Zoom room right now, it would be the biggest love fest. The five of us would just be exploding, right? This match.com scenario of the AI is going to get us there because the AI, it's just a matter of time. The AI is probably really good at detecting emotion and passion and things like that. And, and also areas of conflict. Where are we disagreeing? And then, do we meet that head on and actually do we sidestep it for the moment and work on other things and agree to disagree on that and kind of put it in a parking lot? So, and you've got so many amazing distinctions about all this stuff, having worked with Fernando Flores and all the great stuff you've done in life. I mean, John, I see you as just this incredible leader who I think probably more than anyone else could lead humanity into this next plateau. The way I see it is we've got this tough climb, this steep climb to get to this plateau. Once we get to the plateau, what is the plateau? The definition of the plateau is that we've got a critical mass of conversations of people who are ready for it and have I'll just call it the right stuff. It's a combination of emotional maturity, training in indigenous wisdom, whatever, that we can actually, work together as a community, as a network of networks. But once we hit this critical mass, and we start live streaming, it's going to go crazy because with the live stream, some of those are going to become very popular. And just like that 3-minute video you showed, at first, the vast majority, they're just sitting there picnicking, watching, they're aware, oh, that's cool, that's cool, that's cool. And then suddenly, whoa,
Right. Right.
it's going to create exactly that. And the next thing you know, John, we're going to have thousands of Zoom rooms that are live streaming, all aware of each other and all self-identifying as a single whole. That's the planetary brain firing on all cylinders. This asynchronous, it's only going to take us so far because
Okay, here's the thing about that. I think it's both. It's synchronous and asynchronous, right? So
yeah,
it's not an either or situation. Because there are times when I can work on the things we're working on together, like here we are synchronous, right?
yeah,
Be able to read them in the different times. So I think the nature of life is some combination of synchronous and asynchronous. But
of
it's
course.
okay. So, Jamin, I have an offer to you.
Yeah,
Okay,
tell me.
really appreciate what you're saying, but let's adopt what we learned there. I want to be your first follower. That's the role. That's what I've come to, and that's what I was trying to say. That's the pattern of how to do this. And what I think would be helpful for you is create kindred spirits to start as a space in one world. So you can learn. I'll show you everything I know there, how that happens. And then when the moment is right, bifurcate to create either your own mighty network or your own other platform, whatever. I mean, I don't feel like you need to stay there. But by having you there, I'll be able to at least show you how we are integrating. So many of the things you're saying are resonant with and I'm willing to use the live streaming capability, and it works. It's great, and we could couple it with Zoom, which you could do as well in there. Those guys, I'm betting on those guys. They've got a real good team of engineers, and they've got the funding because it's a use-based model. It's not advertising based. So they've crossed that threshold some time ago. Mighty Network has. I mean, because you know this about the technology. It's really about the people, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So who are you betting on are the people. These guys are good. Gina, it's a woman in charge. They've got the values, but they've also have the engineers. So I'd just say as a starting point, unless you already have something else in mind, I'd gladly be not only your ambassador into One World about you bringing this mission forward, kindred spirits there as a space. We could
Yeah.
between now and the event that's happening in July, and we'll reach the threshold of when it becomes time to move it into some different structure. But that would be a way that I know that I can make a difference. And that would be, my pleasure to do that. That's my role is to be that first follower. And you've got the vision, and you're exactly the kind, not exactly because you're unique, but it fits. It fits also with what we could do to support Brother Phil, because I play that same role for Phil.
Beautiful. Beautiful. No, I love it. I accept. I accept. Let's build it up within One World because I imagine you've got a bunch of great communities in One World.
Totally. We're doing this for this deep and rapid transformation, the evolutionary leaders. It's a good space. And there'll be a moment in all these things. The way I've written about this, I say there's like four states of engagement. So there's times that you're actively engaged, there's times that you're passively engaged, and then there's times that you're dormantly engaged. And then there are times you disengage. So in other words, I'm proposing we become actively engaged, right? Get kindred spirits in space there. In fact, here, I'll show you. It's really now. What do you have written about kindred spirits? Do you have it as do you have like a mark for it, a logo for it? Do you have a mission statement for it? And
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Here, let me
that should be your mission.
totally. Here, let me just
It
screen
is your mission. It doesn't not like it's your mission. It is your mission.
here, let me screen share you for you real quick. So the best starting place is here we go. Is our website, kindredspirits.earth. And there's some good stuff on the welcome page. Here's our World Peace Gathering,
Nice.
18th through the 20th. Yeah, it's all on kindredspirits.earth. And then let's see. And then about us, we've got our whole narrative. It starts with the Choctaw gift of 1847, the lost wisdom of indigenous peoples.
Beautiful, beautiful.
Yeah. There we are in Palenque with Brother Phil. There's James Desmond. You've probably been on a Zoom meeting with him. He's usually not on camera,
Right.
but
Yeah.
he's just an amazing visionary. And his daughter. So there we are, also with Marco. You know Marco quite well. And it was there in Palenque in 2023 that Chief Phil downloaded and staked Ireland, the Irish people, and Kindred Spirits Ireland as the bridge builders. Have you seen this video about the favor is returned?
No, well, I know the story. But I would
Okay.
love to see the video.
Yeah. Here, it's just like a 3 minute.
Wait, hold on. Before you do that, let me just tell my daughter something here. Hey, can you share the timing? Okay, ritual. My group is asking when different things are planned to happen. Yes. So she's organizing this event with the Shumash people on solstice. Let me just tell her the time. 10 a.m., 2 p.m. EST. Yes, if it was after the 2 p.m. EST, so that's 11 a.m. PDT, sometime around noon to 1 o'clock, period. That makes more sense. Okay. All right. These things are happening. All right. Let me see that.
Beautiful. All right.
That's exactly the kind of content because each space you can have a dedicated website. So this is not like to replace the website, right? I have a website for Solstice Unites, but I
Yeah.
also have a dedicated space in One World for Solstice Unites for the peer-to-peer, more engaging kind of activity that you can't get from a website.
Gotcha. No. I love it, John. I totally.
Between two communities formed in a time of deep crisis, commemorated with this sculpture. In 1847, at the height of the famine here, the Choctaw Nation of Native Americans gathered what money they could and sent it across the Atlantic to help those suffering. 170 years on, that goodwill is now being reciprocated. A fundraiser for Navajo and Hopi Native American families has seen donations from Ireland pouring in, the US organisers initially perplexed.
We noticed a flux of donations from Ireland, and our leadership team was like, what's going on? And so we started looking into it, and we started reading the comments about the history between the Choctaw Nation and Ireland. And we were so fascinated, and we just thought it was so beautiful.
One of those who has contributed is a Native American living in Galway.
I think it's amazing to see that the Irish are helping Native American tribes the way that the Native American tribes helped the Irish during the famine. It's just awesome to see it.
The money raised is being spent on vital supplies for a community that knows all too well about suffering. Native Americans saying Ireland's generosity this time around has made the connection between the two stronger.
With the bond between two peoples who had been dispossessed, that had started in 1847, so long ago, is continuing out in the world today, and I think it's a beautiful thing.
Across the Atlantic and across generations, the goodwill continues. Conor Hunt, RTE News.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Yeah, and you could put all of that content into the dedicated space in one world. And the thing that couples that well is your mission.
Yeah.
Right. So putting in the mission, what you're up to. Hi.
Hi, John.
Good to see you.
Good to see you too. I just got back from my studio.
Nice.
How are you and Summer doing?
We're doing great, and and I'm doing really good with Jamin. Really, it's
Good.
beautiful. We're having a
Good.
renaissance in our friendship. Oh my
Good.
gosh. Oh my gosh.
You
Now, I told Jamin earlier, that dog is never late. Question that this teacher asked me, why are dogs never late? And I didn't know the answer, but the answer turned out to change my life.
What's the answer?
They don't make promises.
Oh.
And our world is a world of promise. Like you guys probably, someone made a proposal if you guys got married. In fact, a marriage is about mutual promises. That's your vows.
Right. Well, it's also a sacred contract.
Yeah. I mean, we have other ways of saying, but when you boil it all down, dogs don't make promises to us, and therefore they live in a different world, whereas we live in a world in which we do. That's why I'm here. I promised to be here.
Right. Right. Nice one. Thank you for sharing that.
There you go.
Well, I'm glad there's healing. I think it's happening all over the planet. We need it.
You need it.
And all the peacemakers are coming together now, which is a beautiful thing.
Saying that that's the nurturing and life-giving that we need. That's the balance. We're out of balance. We're looking for solstice to be a moment of coming back into balance where there's a pause. The sun right there.
Yeah, beautiful.
21st.
Well, great to see you, and we'll see you
Yeah,
again.
you gotta come down here. Yeah. Now that we're
Definitely. Love to Summer.
melted.
Yeah. So anyway, so our narrative really kind of tells the story up on Kindred Spirits. But I mean, I can't wait to take your curriculum there on Indigenous wisdom. And
stuff that's really good. And and she's an active participant in our core team here. So
Patricia Ann Davis is active.
In fact, I'm meeting with her in 40 minutes.
Gotcha. Wow.
So because she's part of the team for Solstice Live. She's been with the powwow. She taught me really what powwow is. And most people don't know.
Patricia Ann Davis, sweetheart. Yeah.
Now that I said that, it's not fair if I not. So wait, hold on. Let me see my screen. There's a slide presentation. Well,
Working with the Snohomish tribe, John?
No, she's a Diné. She grew up on the reservation.
But I was just thinking, since you're on Whidbey, you
yeah.
connecting with the Snohomish tribe, because I think, we're on their land, it could be really great to bring them into a
Yes.
celebration with us here.
No, you're absolutely right. And well, we're going to be in New York with the Lenape
Oh, okay.
for a solstice. That's part of where we're going. But this was what Patricia shared. Remember before, see, powwow is social medicine. It's not entertainment. And it's intergenerational and cross-cultural.
Right.
So what you see here is this, she named this as a peacemaking ceremony for healthy helping teamwork. And we went through the directions before, Jane, you remember? To the east, affirming balance and living, right? And to the south, affirming harmony and communication. But then powwow is an acronym. Male gender life task as protector, provider of women.
Mhm.
Wise women of the world. That's the wow. The
Mm, mm,
wow. And the
mm.
male life task, I affirm my male life task as a protector, provider of women, wise women of the world within my home, community, and nation. And the female life task, I affirm my female life task as life giver, nurturer, a wise woman of the world within my home, community, and nation. So she's been on our, we've lived actually on the powwow committee with that as kind of our, um, so. So here's where I think would be a practical step that could
Yeah.
really move forward here because I'm with you. And it would be my, I mean it sincerely, to be like your ambassador and introduce you into this space and make your mission known. So in this space on Sacred Confluence,
Yeah.
and you have all the content, and especially now your capacity with AI, this is not hard to do. What you want to do is fill out this form, and you may want to open it in a separate window, but it's simple. It's this.
Yeah, actually, could I screen share my One World and because I'd really like to walk
Yeah,
it
yeah,
through.
let's do that. That's much better.
Okay, one second. Let me just pull it up here.
And I think taking kindred spirits to that next level is your natural mission here, however you want to articulate it. But that's not hard. That should be like, a half hour we could do this.
Right, right. So here, I just want to make sure I can enter the right place. So I'm all logged in here.
Right.
So where do I start to create a mission for Kindred
Okay.
Spirit?
So you're in the home feature, those tabs above, right?
Yeah. Hmm.
Home Discovery News event. In the home where you are, if you scroll down,
Yeah.
scroll down, keep going, keep going. Now there, what started to happen is embedded in the form, embedded in this page is this
Yeah.
form. Scroll down further, even just scroll down.
Yeah.
See in there, you should be like an elevator on the right there. Right? Yeah. If you look over to the right, move your cursor over. Now, there's the form up above. It's probably easier just to open it in a separate window.
Okay. So
So
do I go up here to open
right
the
there.
right
Yeah.
there?
Yeah.
I'll just open a new tab. Okay.
That's an Airtable form. Where is it?
Oh, yeah. The thing is, I need. Okay, let me. I have to get to the. Here, I have to stop screen sharing for a moment to open the tab. You know how that is when Zoom blocks your tabs. Okay. All right. So here's the form. Now let me screen share again.
So this is great because it then will dovetail well with campaigns to support what's happening in July. And all right, so this is the form.
Okay.
And so in your profile, we're asking people to put in this purpose statement.
Yeah.
That's what down below there, because I believe. And
Yeah.
that's Tamsin's work there. There's another breakthrough there. I'll share with you if you're interested in, but where that purpose statement thing came from, because that was a profound, the woman, Danella Meadows, systems change architect. A lot of people respect her. She passed years ago, but her work endures.
Mm.
What Tamsin taught us, okay, this is worth telling you, that part of systems change is not only a change in the structure and a change in the processes but it's a change in paradigms. And she distinguished these four paradigms. And this is that kind of stuff when you see it, it's like, wow, I didn't think. First is extracting value. People operate from the place, what's Donald Trump? What's in it for me?
Yeah.
You know, extracting value. If there's nothing in it for me, why am I going to do it?
Yeah.
That's one way. There's another paradigm, and we're seeing it present right now, arresting disorder. Stop doing bad shit.
Mm, mm.
Eating, animals. So stop arresting people and deporting them. Arresting disorder. That's another paradigm. Third one is doing good. And boy, a lot of people have done a lot of bad doing good. Missionaries thought, I mean, we're going to convert these savages, right?
Right, right, right.
They're not civilized. We got to civilize them. So, but, and then she distinguished this fourth paradigm that I am telling you, this is the one that's changed everything for me.
Mm-hmm.
Evolving potential.
Hmm.
That's what you and I are doing right in this conversation.
Totally, totally.
The potential. It says, oh my God, John, let me tell you, I see these live streams happening and the streams being able to be recorded and transcribed and the AI helping people discover like a match.com, that's the potential. And that's
Right.
what we're doing with each other is evolving our potential together to create new possibilities for a new world.
Totally, John. No, this will be the birth of super intelligence. Mark my words. Oh,
I'm sorry, I overheard something, and I just wanted to add something that I read recently. I think it was Michael Mead. Do you know his work?
We listen to Michael almost every night in our hot tub.
Oh, I love this guy so much.
Oh, he's so good.
Said that we are, I don't know if he said wrong, but he said it's not the paradigm that's shifting. It's we're in a process of evolution.
Hmm.
And I really like that, like it's an ongoing process of shifting and changing.
Yes, yes, yes.
Um, and I also, I really like hearing what you just said. And it's funny because I asked a friend of mine, there's a guy on the island, David Hundley, he's a professional photographer, and he's making a book called 100 Would-Be Artists.
Hmm.
And he's just photographing 100 would-be artists, and they can be musicians or, summer could be one, poets, dancers, etc., food, people around food. And I asked a friend if he'd like to be photographed, and he said, well, I talk with a guy, but what's in it for me?
Right. Extracting value. That's one way people live. And sometimes, we need to deal with it's not bad, but it's ways to start to see what is invisible.
Yeah.
And it's Peter Senge said so beautifully, he said, we don't understand what we see. We see what we understand.
That's right. And Wayne Dyer says when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change.
Exactly, exactly. So that's why
Yeah.
finding a paradigm that really evolves the potential and being able to have enough trust with each other to discover that and unlock that potential. That's a game that gets me going. That's why I emphasize it. It's such a
And
fertile.
stop telling stories. We tell ourselves these stories that come from trauma, right? Because our feelings get stirred up. We get hurt, we get frustrated, we get angry, and then we spin stories around those, right? Which take us down further into more stories and take us further away from, I guess we could say, the truth, right? Or healing.
Yeah.
And I think that's so much of what I'm witnessing going on right now are these stories of trauma where we got to reprogram the cerebral cortex or whatever it is, the neurons, the pathways,
Yeah.
to
So
get to
Jim
higher
and I were
consciousness.
talking about this. There's a teacher in a Navajo Diné, Patricia Ann Davis, who uses the art of distinctions. And she distinguishes an inverse thinking system from an affirmative thinking system. And that's just what you were speaking to there. And in that inverse thinking, we're never enough. And like this paper we just wrote about her work, it starts with says, we are not broken, we are sacred.
Yeah,
And
absolutely. I love this poem by John Donahue. Kick off your shoes, for you are walking upon holy ground.
Oh, beautiful, beautiful. Yeah, yeah. No, we're just waking up, awakening and remembering.
Yeah, beautiful.
In fact, there's this Anishinaabe prophecy. Okay, in one world, we have the global fire room. Hold on. And there's a story there that I know you're going to resonate with. So here, I'm in one world again, right? And I'm going to find it down here, global fire ceremony room. And in this space, here's Brother Phil with,
Mhm.
So I,
Yep, yep.
look here. So there's this eighth fire prophecy of a golden age that's going to lead to peace on earth. And it's rooted in the seven fires, this Anishinaabe prophecy. So according to the prophecy, it's this time that the people, new people, will emerge and be given a choice between two roads. One that's going to be green and lush and very inviting. The other will be black and charred and walking. You know what they choose? In the prophecy, the people decide to take neither road, but instead to turn back to remember and reclaim the wisdom of those who came before them.
oh my goodness. That's giving me goosebumps. That is so, like, I talk about that in my art where I look back to move forward.
That's right. That's right. That's why Phil and Patricia, I'm just scrolling down so you can see she's in here as well. These are the two. And she calls for a reverent revolution.
Yes, absolutely.
This is the
Beautiful.
planetary cosmic reverent revolution.
Yep, that's it. The divine feminine, love,
Yeah,
living the loving way. That's it. Beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. I've still got goosebumps.
belongs to you. I'm just reminding you that you left it along the trail. Okay, I found it back there too. We're all trying to realize how do we get back to what we forgot.
Yeah. Yes, so much about remembering our birthright and who we came here to be. Find
Yeah,
out.
that's Michael's work. I mean, all that mythology, he always grounds everything in, this timeless way
Yeah,
of thinking.
totally.
He's kept me sane. That's why we listen to him. Real, I'm not kidding. Maybe not maybe every, but I'm a premium, the $20 a month, so I get those
I
notices
do
on.
the same thing, podcasts.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I've taken a couple of his courses too. I just enrolled in the new one, so haven't opened it up yet.
he's great. He's special. What a blessing to have him right now.
God bless him, totally. And you, and Damon, and
That's
all of
right.
us.
You. That's right. We're in this together.
Yay. All right.
Say that in the end, everyone will know that everyone did it, right? In the end, everyone will know that everyone did it.
Well, we're all a small part of the big puzzle, right? We don't want any missing pieces.
That's right. That's right. Beautiful inclusivity. I'm a fan. Thanks, Melissa. All right. So,
Okay, so getting back here. So I fill this out,
yeah,
right? And then commit and click.
right.
Um, and then that'll lead me to something else, I
Okay.
presume.
It's real simple. Go back to One World if you can and click on that tab there.
Yeah,
Yeah. So
yeah,
you see that little image to the right there. There's the mission plan form.
yeah.
You fill that out. Then there's a mission plan. You're going to get an email back. So you put in an email
Oh,
address,
okay.
get a link to a Google Doc,
Yeah,
right? Then, and I get an email too, by the way, so with the link, so that if there's any support you need, I can provide it. Because then you just basically are cutting and pasting whatever. Once you then tweak the Google Doc, you say, no, it's ready to go. We
yeah,
put it to an article inside of One World. So you see up above where you have that create button in the upper right.
yeah.
So you click on create.
Here.
Yeah. Over the upper right. No, no, on the other. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. No, all the way on the other side. There's
oh,
a,
here we go. Here we go. Okay, great.
and you see where it says article?
Yeah.
Mission becomes an article.
Mission plan article. Okay, so that's where I create the article.
That's
Okay.
right. So if you click on like discovery there, then you see like the title, and literally you can pretty much cut and paste it. But
Discovery here or the thing I just clicked.
click
Oh,
on
here.
that. Yeah. But go discovery there just to show you what some of them look like, right? So
Yeah,
you
yeah. Okay. Okay.
can here, the Fields of Healing Missouri Mission Plan. That's Ben's.
Okay.
If you look at it, it's going to look a lot like it was in the form. Now you put in the image and you can scroll down, but you'll see the mission objectives
Got it. Okay.
on
Oh,
the
okay. Okay, got it.
mission
So,
action. Those same, that came originally from the form,
yeah.
that Google Doc, that then you create the article. And that it's because you see Ben Bowler, you can click on Ben there. The red, that'll take you to his profile.
Oh, okay.
Then you can interact with Ben there.
Right, right.
And part of what we're doing is to play the loving way. You can recognize him. And there's a gamification of compassion games we put in here called Play the Loving Way. So if you click on recognize, we've set these 5 values.
Mm, mm.
And you have 160 points to give away. What you want to do in this game is give away the points.
Okay.
So you could say, hey, you're creative and put a little detail in there. And here, I gave you some points.
Mm.
If you hit
Okay.
X in the upper right, hit X. Get rid of this thing
Yeah.
here. Go up to your profile. Get rid of Ben again. Yeah, you see up by your profile over to the in the right,
Yeah.
like a notification, like the bell thing, right? Up above there. Yeah. But there's 413, those are chats. And
Yeah.
then there's an invite. But look at that star thing. That's the game part of this thing. Click on that.
Mm.
And then you could see where it says recognition, see all. I think I probably recognize you. So click see all. Well, that's the streak. Wait, X that again. I'm sorry.
That's all
Was
right. Yeah.
click on that star again, that game thing there. Yeah.
Mhm.
Then you see down your recognitions down below, right there.
Um,
Yeah, yeah. Now look up. Oh, aha, creative. You received on
oh,
third a recognition. Now probably was a notification, but I remember doing that. Now you can see the recognitions that you've given and if you click on
okay. Gotcha. Gotcha.
now
Okay.
all of this is spelled out. Look on the left in the space called compassion games. On the left down below.
There we go.
Yeah, click on that guy. And you'll see here, there's a playground up above. There's a
Okay.
space. If in there, there's a game we created based on the indigenous wisdom called Play the Loving Way. So living the loving way is a way of life. You click on Play the Loving Way down below there. Yeah, click on that. And it opens up. And what it's about is a practice of sacred and authentic recognition. That if you see somebody doing something in one world, you can go and recognize them. Say, hey, that was really creative. Or thanks for being so welcoming. Or thanks for being so inspiring. So if you scroll down, this is like a lesson in just teaching people what the game's about.
Mm, mm.
And there's these 5 core values. Now I'm throwing a lot at you. You're not
No, no,
gonna.
no, no, no. I love it, John. Now, can I create 2 missions, one for
Yeah,
Kindred's?
totally,
Okay.
totally.
All right. And because here's the thing. So Kindred Spirits is its own thing. I'm not the leader of Kindred Spirits. It's James Desmond and his daughter Stephanie. She's more organizing everything, and he's kind of the big visionary. I mean, proud to be a member, and we meet twice a week and everything. But the thing about the breakout of networks of conversations and AI and the Match.com scenarios and all that, that's something that's really kind of personal to me, and I'm kind of trying to infuse it into Kindred Spirits, and getting some traction, but it's they're not quite there in terms of seeing, oh my goodness, yes, we've got to do this. So that might be a separate mission, just so I don't overload Kindred
That's
Spirits.
totally fine. That's totally fine. However you want to class packaging, right? Isn't that kind of
Yeah.
the
Yeah, exactly. And then what I'd love to do, John, is go on a mission with you, that we do this mission together, because it sounds like you're pretty jazzed about it.
yeah.
And we recruit the other, leaders of other networks, and we just describe to them, get in a Zoom meeting, describe to them what this is all about, and set up some structure around a schedule of meetings. Maybe we start once a month or once every couple of weeks or something like that, and record and live stream, and or get ready to do it, but we make a plan, right?
I'm
And
all for do it. In the spirit of dogs who, don't make promises. I'm one dog that does, and I'm promising to do that with you.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Awesome. Well, I know you're a busy guy. I'd love to chat more, but I also want to give you some
But
time.
yeah, I got to get ready for this call with Patricia in 20 minutes anyway. I'm not quite ready.
Okay. Okay. Great. Really super appreciate the
Our
meeting.
mission. I'm waiting for it. I'm turning on the clock.
All right.
I want to know, you know.
Oh, hey, I wanted to thank you for also Chief Phil told me you'd had a good chat with Linnea and put in some good words for us. I really appreciate that.
He's at a threshold gathering right now. And Rick went today. She left on Monday. She's facilitating. You know, the Threshold Foundation?
Mm-mm, mm-mm.
It's a good group. It's a whole bunch of rich people don't know what to do with their money. Come together
Yeah.
to talk about what they should do with their money.
Yeah.
So yeah, I know. We'll. I did. I encouraged her to be supportive. I know Melissa gave her a book. I don't think she's read it yet, but well, she'll be back at the end of the week. So,
Okay. Very good. Very good. Awesome. Great. Well, thank you so much, John. I'm so excited. I really feel we can do this now with
Yeah.
with us working together and, bringing in all the other folks that you're so deeply connected with, because I mean, it's the right mission. It's humanity coming together in a vast.
Humanity.
Pardon me?
Unite humanity, restore Mother Earth. It fits right in. There you go. I mean, I couldn't ask for more. I mean that
Exactly.
sincerely.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
All right. Love you, John, brother. We'll see you soon.
Yeah, we'll get together, the four of us.